Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I guess if you're stupid, you're stupid. I don't know what to tell you. So if you have lack of self-awareness, you have lack of self-awareness. I'm talking about Zelensky. Zelensky participated, for whatever reason, at the G7 summit in Hiroshima, Japan. And he made a statement that is stupid, but he doesn't know how stupid a statement is. There's a problem. And even worse is that the mass media doesn't point out how stupid Zelensky's statement is. But hey, let me expose this to you, and maybe you can have a different take on all this. So, he goes to Hiroshima, and this is reported by Ukrinform, and this is what he says. President Zelensky compares war-torn cities of Ukraine to Hiroshima. Now, I'm going to give you, 3 seconds to think about it. 2, 1, 0. And I'm going to read the first paragraph here. Even though the enemy of Ukraine uses non-nuclear weapons, the ruins of Ukrainian cities, which have been burned to the ground by the Russian bombs and artillery, are similar to what one can see in Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum. All right? So let me put it in something that we call logic. So usually it's like this in logic. If A equals B, okay, and B equals C, that means C equals A. So if A equals B, B equals C, C equals A. Right? So if I do something to someone, and that's called rape, if someone else does something to someone else and that's called rape, that means that one is the same as I am. So I'm a rapist if I rape someone. If someone did something that is called rape to someone else, that means he's like me. He's a rapist. So here we have the Russians destroying the Ukrainian cities, according to Zelensky. And they're destroyed as Hiroshima, without even using nuclear weapons or atomic weapons. So that means Russia is bad. Destroyed cities. Wouldn't that make the ones who used even worse weapons, nuclear, atomic bombs on Hiroshima, worse than the Russians then? Because if the result is the same, aren't the perpetrators the same? In this case, just put it in this. So if the destruction of the Ukrainian cities are awful, which they are, and are as bad as the other one, which is bad, like worse, the Russians are bad. How do you call your sponsors? So I think that Mr. Zelensky kicks United States in the balls with that. Remember, without United States of America, he wouldn't be alive. We wouldn't have had the war, and many others. Why do I say that? The United States of America is the biggest sponsor of what's going on in Ukraine. Without the United States of America, the war will end tomorrow with an armistice by Ukrainians. But let me show you another article, which is the same, but it's just coming from the evil Russians. Zelensky compares Artyomovsk to Hiroshima. The aftermath of the Battle of the key Donbas city has reminded the Ukrainian president of the US nuclear bombing. Well, if I go to this one, which is the Ukrinform, the relevant statement was made by Ukrainian President Zelensky in his address to the people of Japan. And I'm quoting, I came here from a country of which the war could have left only a shadow on the stones of history. But our heroic people are turning history around so that we can make the war itself become such a shadow. I believe that war has no place in the world. Blah, 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 blah. I understand that, I agree with that, but you don't believe it. I think Some say, and I'm quoting, that the history of mankind cannot be imagined without war. Yeah, I think I'm one of them. Not that I support it, but I think that's a reality unless we are machines and we can be programmed by someone who's just a good, perfect person. We say that it exactly, well, I'm not going to do this because here is just propaganda. Here what he says, what Ukrainian President Zelensky says. And we will live freely, even though the enemy uses non-nuclear weapons. The ruins of our cities, which were burned to the ground by the Russian bombs and artillery, are similar to what I have just seen here. It is an honor to be in the Museum of Peace, the President of Ukraine said. Zelensky mentioned that Hiroshima is a rebuilt city now. Good job. So he leaves out who bombarded with the nuclear weapons, or atomic bombs. But anyway, this is, I think, lack of self-awareness. I think that's a really... And the article over there in the Ukrainian Ukraine forum do not point out to Zelensky that he, I think, pointed out that actually the Americans are criminals, since the Russians destroyed Artyomovsk or Bakhmut in the way he describes. The Americans did the same thing to that one. But that's a big, big difference. You know what the difference is? The difference is that there were no armies defending Hiroshima. There were no armies defending Nagasaki either. So it was not like, let's say, the Russians just flatten out, Bakhmut because they felt like, and by doing that, they will just destroy the will of the Ukrainian people and bring the war to an end and save their boys' life. Remember, that was a justification. So they just dropped a bomb on a civilian, 100%. The Russians fought the Ukrainians in Bakhmut because the Ukrainians said, we're gonna fight in Bakhmut. It's our fortress. Well, all right, the Russians are evil, again, according to these guys. But what are you? Good? Okay. Well, I just ask a few questions here. So I think that Mr. Zelensky here called Americans as he would call the Russians, and I think he called them criminals. By associations, by logic, however you want to call it. I understand that was not his intention, but I don't think he thought it through. I think he just said something, and the problem is, as I said, not that he said it. We say things, in a hurry, or when we make mistakes. We make mistakes, but when you're in the middle of something, if you don't have it written before and so on, you can make mistakes. You can make all kind of fallacies, and also I understand that you can come later and say if it's pointed out to you, you can come later, or maybe you realize it and say, well, let me rectify something. I said that there was a mistake. What I meant is this, or not what I meant. That's not what I meant to imply, but I made a mistake. Here it is, what I really mean. And try to make it better. But that was said, but apologize. You made a mistake. The problem here, he's not going to apologize to anybody and anything, because that will not be pointed out to him. And you see, the mass media, or people like me, who just read it, at once I was like, this is the title, and it's dumb. So anyway, you take it however you want. I took it this way. Well, the Russians are like the Americans, I guess. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.